Okay, well, we'll go ahead and call the meeting of the Vallecitos Water District Board of Directors to order on September 2nd, 2020 at 4 p.m. via teleconference. Is there any members of the public?
No. Yeah, but it's just an internal person. It's Matthias.
Okay.
So.
Okay, then I'll do an abbreviated announcement, but pursuant to Executive Order N2520 issued by Governor Newsom, this board meeting will be conducted via teleconference, and members of the public will be given an opportunity to communicate any questions or concerns they have via the teleconference if they wish to do so. With that, we'll go ahead and forego the Pledge of Allegiance since we're online, and we'll do a call to order. Director Ellithart?
Present.
Director Martin?
Present.
Director Evans?
Present.
And Director Hernandez?
Present.
And I'm present as well, so we are all here. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second, Hernandez.
So I got a motion by Director Martin and a second by Director Hernandez, and we'll do a roll call vote. Director Ellithart?
Yes.
Director Martin?
Yes.
Director Hernandez?
Yes.
Director Evans?
Yes.
And I'm yes as well, so the motion passes unanimously. Can I get a motion to enter closed session, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Director Martin, seconded by Director Ellithart. We'll do a roll call. Director Evans? Director
I'm sorry,
Evans?
yes.
Okay. Director Martin?
Yes.
Director Ellithart?
Yes.
And Director Hernandez?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm yes as well. And so the motion passes unanimously, and we'll go into closed session, but we'll give staff a few minutes to do what they need to do.
Yeah, thank you, Director Snella. So Jonathan, Diane, and Matthias, if you guys can log off, please.
Yep, and just remember to lock the meeting when we all get out.
Yeah, I will. Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you.
I'm gonna, let's see. So I've locked the webinar and I'm gonna pause the recording. Okay, I resumed the recording and I've unlocked the meeting so we can do a report out, General Counsel Gilpin.
Yes, we're adjourning from closed session into the open session. It's 4:30 and there is no reportable action. Director Sinella, I guess you can take over the meeting and we can adjourn the closed session meeting.
Okay, well, thank you. And we'll go ahead and adjourn the closed session meeting. And we'll, for those who want to stick around and wait till 5 o'clock for the regular meeting, please feel free. I'm going to jump off and do a little work, and then I'll come back in about 20 minutes.
Okay,
We're adjourned.
I'll pause the recording in the meantime.
I'm here.
Cool.
And Director Ellitharp's there, Director Martin. Jonathan or Matthias, can you verify that the recording is resumed?
It looks like it is.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, the red light's on.
Yep. All right.
All right, so it's 4:59, so we'll get started here in about a minute. Okay, if everybody's ready, we'll go ahead and start. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Directors of Vallecitos Water District on Wednesday, September 2nd, 2020 at 5 p.m. via teleconference. General Manager Prum, do we have any members of the public with us currently?
We do. We have one person who is not a staff member that's attending.
Okay. As we've been doing since the COVID-19 situation has evolved, I'm going to go ahead and read a short little paragraph here to inform the public of our teleconference situation. Due to the evolving situation with COVID-19, novel coronavirus, and Executive Order N3520, so long as the state or local public health officials have imposed or recommended social distancing measures, Vallecitos Water District will hold future meetings via teleconferencing and allow members of the public to observe and address the meeting telephonically or otherwise electronically. During this period of time, Vallecitos Water District will not be making any physical location available for members of the public to observe the meeting and offer public comment. The public is encouraged to watch and participate in the meeting from the safety of their homes. The meeting can be viewed on the agenda page located on the main page of the district's website. Public comments or questions can be submitted to the following email address: publiccomment@vwd.org. All written comments that are received at least 90 minutes before the meeting will be provided to the board, and a record of the receipt of comment will be noted during the meeting. Members of the public viewing the meeting via Zoom video conferencing platform can express their desire to provide input at the appropriate time by utilizing the raise hand function. Additional instructions for online participation will be posted on the district's website at www.vwd.org/meetings. Okay. We'll go ahead, given that we're doing this meeting via teleconferencing, we'll forego the Pledge of Allegiance and we'll go right to the roll call. Director Evans.
Here.
Director Hernandez.
Here.
Director Elithart.
Present.
And Director Martin.
Present.
And I'm here as well. Okay. I will entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved, Martin. Hernandez, second.
Okay, we got a motion to approve the agenda by Martin and a second by Director Hernandez. Director Elithart,
Yes.
Director Hernandez,
Yes.
Director Martin,
Yes.
Director Evans,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Motion passes unanimously. At this time, General Manager Prum, do we have any members of the public who wish to speak?
None of the attendees on the Zoom meeting have raised their hand, and I'll ask Diane to inform us if anybody submitted any electronic comments before the meeting.
Okay, so persons wishing to address the matter, for those listening in, that's not on the agenda may be heard at this time. So please raise your hand if you're interested, and feel free to raise your hand to communicate with us at any time during the meeting, and we'll recognize you for some time. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved, Martin.
Second, Elithart.
Okay, the consent motion to approve the consent calendar made by Director Martin and seconded by Director Elithart. Director Hernandez,
Yes.
Director Evans, Director Evans.
Yes. Sorry.
Yep, thought we lost you there for a second. Director Elithart
Yes.
and Director Martin,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, let me catch up on my agenda here. Moving on to action items 2.1. Fiscal year 2019-20 year-end capital improvement program summary. I'll turn it over to you, Glenn.
Yeah, and I'm just going to turn it over to Ryan Morgan. So every year we do bring a year-end update to the board as to how we did on the CIP project. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan.
Thank you, General Manager Prum. Good evening, Vice President Sonola and directors of the board. It's my pleasure to be here today to present the fiscal year 19-20 year-end capital improvement summary and also the fourth quarter update. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay. To begin, the 2019-20 fourth quarter reports, for District Ordinance number 146, staff shall present the CIP year-end update to the Board of Directors. This update includes a general overview of all projects and construction over fiscal year 19-20, including all associated costs. To begin, I want to start with the fourth quarter reports. They have all been posted online, and I'd like to just take a moment to direct the members of the board to the website. I'm going to share my screen again to a different screen. Bear with me. Okay, everyone should be seeing the Vallecitos homepage. And to start, you come to departments here, engineering, you just click on engineering, come to the capital facilities cog, click on the cog, and it brings up active capital improvement projects. Once you go there, it brings up an interactive map showing all of our active projects currently. And just to click on one to show you what will happen, San Marcos Interceptor Phase 2 is just now getting going, and just gives you a brief synopsis of the project here. And if you were interested in seeing the actual quarterly report page, you come down here to this link, click on the link, and it'll bring up the page where you can find more information. Quarterly update, contract has been awarded to TC Construction, budget, and just different project information. I don't want to go over every project for the sake of time, but I did want to just remind the board, this information is readily available on our website, and we do keep it posted on a quarterly basis. And first quarter will be up at the end of this month, so we will be posting those reports in October. And with that, I'm going to share my other screen. Okay, back to the slideshow. To get right into it, the 2019-2020 project summary is summed up by a contract total of just under $4.14 million in active contracts. Paid to date is just under that at $4.085 million. Our change orders in total, 6.62% on the year, and that's over 49 total change orders. Important thing to note here is the difference between a district initiated change and and any other type of change that is encountered in the field due to unforeseens. District staff took it upon themselves to initiate a couple large changes during the course of construction, primarily at the schoolhouse tank. If the board remembers, there were rafter replacements that were needed due to excessive corrosion that wasn't known at the time of design. So those two change orders, if they are removed from the equation, brings our total change order on the year down to 1.75%. And the total design contracts are just over 1.3 million on the year. Just cash flow, monthly cash flow is projected versus actual, right where we expect it to be, with the actual just lagging a bit behind projected throughout the first half of the year and catching up over the second half of the year. Change order total versus industry standard. This slide is a familiar slide to the board. We update it every fiscal year with new metrics to total out over the last 15 years or so. And with 1920 included with the 6.62 change order percent rate, our average is averaging around 5% over the last. Oh, okay. I was just informed by District Engineer Gumpel that you can see two screens right now. So that's probably a little bit confusing for you. Let's see if I can fix that real quick. Just, I'm going to attempt to stop and then restart sharing. Just one moment. Okay, that's probably better for everybody.
That works.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone want me to go back to the previous slides to view those? Or should I just keep going?
I'm good if everybody else is.
I'm good.
I apologize for that. This is a good summary table of the years, I'm sorry, of the projects throughout the year that were completed in 1920. It really breaks down the change order totals and the construction budget at award versus the actual contract and change order totals. You can see that we ended up with a surplus on really every job except for the schoolhouse tank refurbishment, which was in deficit of about $223,000 due to that large change. All said in total, for those projects which were completed throughout the year, we ended up with a surplus of nearly $690,000. Some of these metrics vary a little bit from the prior tables because there was the North Twin Oaks Tank number 1 refurbishment project had just started getting going into fiscal year 19 and 20. And those metrics are reflected in the previous tables, whereas they're not reflected here because this is only for the projects which were completed in 19 and 20. And just to sum up a couple highlights throughout the year, the Lawrence Welk waterline replacement was originally budgeted at $679,000. Staff self-performed this job throughout planning, design, construction, and inspections. We successfully completed the job and finished not only on budget, but on schedule as well. And we ended up with a budget surplus of $450,000 on that one. The 2019 sewer lining and rehab project, we ended up combining the Northwest Lake San Marcos sewer repairs into this project to benefit from some scale of economy and savings. We combined those two projects, which total budget was $1.4 million. Again, staff self-performed this project, and we ended with a budget surplus of just over $630,000. Some photos from North Twin Oaks Tank number 1 refurbishment. I mentioned earlier some before and after. This project is currently wrapping up. Contractor has just finished coating the exterior of the tank, and we will be bringing this one to the board in the coming months for acceptance. And the district-wide solar project, PPA, is also underway at Twin Oaks Reservoirs 1 and 2. All modules, panels, inverters have been installed, and now they're finishing up final trenching and performing the utility upgrade through SDG&E. That project is going to be wrapping up in October and November, where they will then move over to the Lift Station 1 site and begin that project in the same time frame of November, looking to complete that project in January or February 2021.
Hey, Ryan, I have a question.
Yes.
Is that an actual picture, or is that kind of like a rendering of what it's going to look like?
No, this picture was taken early in the morning at the reservoirs up on the hill side there. And you can kind of see on the reservoir number 2, it's partially installed with the modules. You can see some of the modules have been installed, and then there's just empty racks. So if you went out there now, all of those modules have been installed.
Yeah, it's a really nice picture. Not just the solar panels, but the sky in the background and everything. So I think it would make for a great photo to share with our customers, either through social media or in our upcoming newsletter that we mail out, to let them know that that we're doing this solar project, and maybe talk about some of the benefits from electricity savings and environmental protections and stuff like that. So I just maybe they need to retake it with the completed panels, but it's a
Yeah.
really nice picture.
I agree. And this picture has also been shared with our public information and conservation group. And they are in production right now of a video, and the work we do article, and there is going to be a release of that video, I think, in the coming month or two, as they finish editing it and doing final production. But I'll definitely pass along that sentiment that this photo should be used. And I fully expect there'll be other photos similar to this. In fact, they're scheduling a drone flight out there to capture some video, and I fully expect that'll also be used in that. So
Nice.
and,
I know they
and
always do a great job.
yeah, they do. And that's really it. I'll field any questions you may have at this time.
I'll open it up to my colleagues. Any questions from the other board members?
Mike, Vice President Sinella, this is Evans.
Yes, go ahead, Director
Oh,
Evans.
thank you. It's not really a question. It's just a note of recognition and appreciation that the staff has been exceedingly successful at keeping our change orders way below the national average on a very consistent basis. And I feel that that's it's so valuable for us to have the confidence when you bring a budget forward, that we feel you've really thought about what a budget's going to cost us, and then you work very hard to stay within it, and often are below with things like this. So I just want to say a true appreciation for that. That's quite incredible.
Thank you, President Evans. And I'd like to just give credit to my staff and Capital Facilities for their participation in actively managing these projects. The effort spent in design and planning is money well spent in comparison to construction dollars and change orders, which can potentially really add up and be staggering for any job of any significance. So we really appreciate that.
Any other of the board members would like to comment or have a question? Okay, hearing none. Ryan, great job. I have one other comment. When that opening link that you started with, that has all the different projects that you guys are working on, and that is available via our website. I think that is such a great community asset, and I forget about it. Unfortunately, it's out of sight, out of mind. But I know that you guys remind us about it at this particular presentation every year, and every time I see it, I'm blown away and I'm impressed. And I hope that it's not one of those things that's real simple to kind of communicate in a social media post, because it's hard to do in a very short, with 140 characters or whatever it might be. But I really hope that we can get the word out to the community that we have that. It's great public information. It's great transparency. And I go to other government agency sites, school districts, cities, and navigating their websites and finding stuff like information like that is so difficult. I mean, sometimes it's just hard to find out when's the board meeting, right? And so to be able to have such a user-friendly part of our website that has such cool information and useful information, I think is really cool. So kudos to that as well.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Okay. With no other comments, we'll go ahead, and that was for information only, so we don't have to vote. And we'll go on to action item 2.2, High Point Pipe Assessment. And I'll turn it back over to you, Glenn. You're on mute.
Vice President Sinella, if I could say just for the record, none of the attendees wanted to make a comment on the previous item, just so.
Oh, great. Thank you. Yeah,
Always keeping an eye on that.
I can't see the hand. So if you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, I
keep an
try
eye
to
on
keep an
that
eye
for
on
me.
that, but nobody raised their hand on this one. But yeah, so we'll go into item 2.2. So item 2.2 is the High Point Pipeline Assessment. I think we've talked with the board a little bit about this in the past, and we're at a kind of a critical juncture right now. So I'm going to turn it over to James and Susan Bowman, and they're going to walk you through what steps we've taken to make sure we're protecting our ratepayers. So James, with that, why don't you jump in?
Thank you, General Manager Prum. Vice President Sinella, members of the board. Today we're going to be bringing forward a recommendation on the pipeline assessment portion of the High Point project. Just as a little bit of reminder, this has been in front of the board a few times, and there's several things on that project. So basically, there was a development, and Susan will go over a presentation which gives you a little bit of history of what was in that development. But essentially, there was a development called High Point, which had a pump station, had some facilities associated with the pump station, and had pipelines. Since several developers have come forward over the years doing their due diligence of whether or not they want to move forward with this project, and the district has been fairly consistent along saying that we think that the entirety of the pump station, except for the building, and the entirety of the pipeline needs to be replaced. This developer who actually purchased the property and went forward with it asked the board to consider pipeline condition assessment to see if that pipeline needs to be replaced or not. And this is basically the results of that pipeline assessment that Susan's going to present. There are other aspects of this project, including the pump station and the assets inside the pump station, the pumps, the motors, the generator, and all the gearing. And this is not, today's presentation does not address that. The district's conditions are still to replace that. The developer is undergoing a study of what that's going to take right now, and that study is still in draft. So there will be another phase to this regarding the pump station facility. But today we're going to talk specifically about the pipeline, which is 12-inch and 8-inch pipeline that pretty much makes up the water infrastructure on the project as far as the distribution side of it. With that, Susan, if you'd start the presentation.
Yes, thank you very much. Let me share my screen with you.
Susan, you got the note screen up also.
I do? That's,
Yep.
Let's try that again. Is that the note screen?
No, you're good.
Okay, excellent. Okay, and let me, okay, so thank you very much, Vice President Sinella and members of the board. So I will be reviewing the pipeline condition assessment that was done in December of 2019. Here's a map of the project, the area in question, up here north in the northern part of the district off of I-15. And you can see here where we have the 12-inch water main in up here, the Woodland Heights Glen, and then the 8-inch water main that were part of this assessment. So again, a bit on the background of this development. It was initiated in the 2000s under the name of High Point Country Manor. And in 2007, the developer constructed the water and sewer facilities that were to serve this project. And they were nearly ready for acceptance. There was a few items that needed to be finalized. However, the developer at that time abandoned the project, and therefore the facilities were never accepted by Vallecitos. So current status, as was mentioned, in 2006, new developers have begun the process of redeveloping this High Point area. And we began working with the developer to discuss the acceptance of these now 13-year dormant water and sewer facilities. So the 12-inch ductile iron, the Woodland Heights Glen area, the method that was determined to be used for assessing this is the Pika sea snake. We're going to have a video in a minute here on that technology and the methodology that was used for doing this internal inspection of the pipeline. Approximately 2,059 linear feet of 12-inch ductile iron was inspected out of a total of about 4,200 feet. So about half of the 12-inch was inspected. Additionally, we did do some potholing at 2 different locations where dry utilities were crossing to also confirm the findings of the sea snake tool. And the 8-inch was approximately 700 feet out of a total of about 5,100 feet that's in the project area. Here's another look at the map and the area that was PICA'd for this assessment. PICA stands for Pipeline Inspection and Condition Analysis Corporation. We tend to call it PICA. So this next slide, we're going to launch into a video to describe this.
Hi, my name is Chris Embry. I'm a regional manager with PICA, and I was a project manager at the High Point Condition Assessment Site. PICA stands for Pipeline Inspection and Condition Analysis Corporation. We have manufactured and developed several tools to inspect pipe. We have inline tools that inspect the pipe from inside of the pipeline, and we also have external tools that can inspect the pipe from the outside of the pipeline. Several agencies here in Southern California and throughout North America are using our technology currently. This technology can be used on any metallic pipeline, and here in the water industry in potable, raw, recycled, as well as wastewater. We inspected the metallic pipelines at High Point. We're using electromagnetic remote field testing techniques to determine the remaining wall loss, in this instance, ductile iron pipe. Many older pipelines are out of sight and out of mind, but working with a proactive agency like Vallecitos, we're able to inspect before there are failures of pipelines.
My name is John Childs. I'm an inspector for Vallecitos Water District. I was the inspector specifically for the PICA High Point assessment up here at Woodland Heights, Glen. We're standing up here at Palos Vista Tank. We're right below the tank. One of the first things that Vallecitos did was we were responsible for marking out old ductile iron mains that are up here. Been up here, I believe, for almost 12 years. These lines have never been used and inactive. Also, there was 2 potholes that were done, and those locations were at known utility crossings, and we just wanted to get an evaluation and see if there was any sort of corrosion happening at those locations. So once we did mark out our lines, it was decided where we were going to make the entry points and the exit points for the PICA sea snake. This is a location where we did it. For Vallecitos was overseeing Cass Arrieta, who did the excavation, and we removed a section of pipe so the PICA sea snake instrument could be inserted. The day of the assessments, we pretty much stood back and just kind of let them do their magic. Vallecitos, myself. I was impressed with PICA's accuracy and the fact that they had come back with 2 different locations after their initial assessment. They had said that possibly could be some major corrosion. Wanted us to excavate on those locations. When we did, we actually found significant corrosion, wall loss. One of them, when we were digging around on it, actually sprung a small leak right where they had said it was. I was completely blown away by how accurate it was. Not only did they give me a linear footage of exactly where it was at, but they actually gave me the clock face. One was at 10 o'clock and one was at 10:30 on the pipe. And lo and behold, both of them were precisely at those locations. If this had been in service, this would have been quite a catastrophic main break.
After the inspection, we provide a color-coded map of the pipe to show areas of stress, corrosion, through holes, etc. We provide that to Vallecitos and engineers to be able to make a further informed decision. The information collected at High Point can allow Vallecitos to make informed decisions on the remaining useful life, predict failures to save money, focusing their resources on areas of the pipe that need to be replaced and prevent outages, service disruptions, and further issues in the pipeline. In January general, our inspections cost between 5 and 10% of the capital replacement cost of the pipelines we're inspecting. And we often find that less than 3% of the pipelines that we inspect need to be replaced. Sometimes if there are breaks in certain areas, it could be an easy assumption that those are the areas that are bad. That's not necessarily the case at all. In some cases, other parts of the pipeline further away and in different soil conditions may be in much worse case. And then the resources can be focused to the areas that actually need the repair and replacement. It was a pleasure working with Vallecitos staff as well as Vallecitos inspection department on this successful project.
In my opinion, having seen the results from the Pika C-Stake tool with the accuracy of where they had said, hey, there's a problem, and physically seeing that problem has me impressed. And I do believe that this tool would be a great asset or help the district in assessing other areas of Vallecitos Water District. This has been a success for Vallecitos in that we get to actually assess the assessment. So I see a potential for this Pika technology benefiting both Vallecitos District and its customers, and the fact that we could possibly assess and know of a potential line failure premature and be able to address it. District inspection staff, while we were out here, but this being the first time, we started a rough draft of some standard operating procedures that we would want to follow and use for anytime we use Pika or this type of technology in the future.
Okay, let me show you a little bit about some of the findings from the Pika assessment. This is on the 12-inch Woodland Heights Glen area. And what was identified was significant loss of wall thickness along the pipeline in multiple areas. Wall thickness is expected to be at 70%. And from these, here, if you can see this, many of them were significantly less than 70%, some down this particular one here, you know, I mean, 1%, 12%, a quite significant loss of wall thickness along the full length of the 12-inch pipe. And the potholing that we mentioned actually verified this corrosion. These are photos from the corrosion engineer where we dug up the pipe, and it shows how there's some quite significant loss of pipe. And in fact, we had 2 areas where there were already holes through on this pipe. So again, significant deterioration with a recommendation to replace the pipe within the same trench, reusing the existing bedding and appurtenances for this 12-inch section of the development. Now, with regard to the 8-inch, which was done in this particular, the Elderwood Glen area, and again, we're still looking at expected remaining wall thickness of 70%. It was in much better shape with minimal wall loss, 70, 80% here, all along this pipeline. And we have photos to reinforce that information as well. That it's very good condition here, showing no corrosion on these sections of the pipe that were potholed and dug up to look at them. So again, on the 8-inch, it appears to be in, you know, a relatively like new condition. However, we would recommend that we do a Pika inspection of the remaining 8-inch pipe. As I had mentioned, we did 700 linear feet of approximately 4,200 linear feet for the 8-inch. So if we did the condition assessment of the remaining 8-inch pipe in the development, then we can determine really what the condition of that remaining pipe would be. And then we would take that to the board to determine the actions that would be necessary with regard to the 8-inch pipe. And that's the end of the presentation. Do you have any questions regarding that or any information that you'd like to see? And let me mention that the report is available on the website.
I have a
Thank you.
question.
Thank you, Susan. Director Hernandez.
Is there any, I mean, I'm astounded, the 8-inch pipe is virtually, like you say, like new, and the 12-inch needs repair. I mean, it's virtually the same ground. Any idea why the 12-inch is so badly in need of repair and the 8-inch is like new?
Director Hernandez, I could attempt to answer that, but in reality, we really don't know. The 12-inch, it may have been the way it was handled. It may have sat out longer. 8-inch is a more stocked item that goes through. The 12-inch may have been older before it may have been damaged more. It's a heavier pipe. It takes bigger equipment to move it around. But all those things are just guesses in reality, because we really don't know. All we know is we tested almost half the 12-inch and it was in horrible shape. We tested less than a third of the 8-inch and it was in great shape. So we have no confidence that the rest of the 12-inch is in any better shape, and we want to verify that the 8-inch, the remaining, which is majority of it, is untested, is in similar shape to what we tested before we're ready to make a final condition or final conditions to the developer.
Vice
Any other
President
questions?
Snell, I have a comment.
Okay, Director Olathar.
James, I'm wondering if, just a theory, maybe the 8-inch is electrically insulated from the 12. Is that possible?
No, so on our old district standards, and these were put in from our old districts, don't have bonding or any cathodic protection on any ductile iron below 16-inch. So they're gasketed joints. So each stick of pipe is electrically independent of each other, basically, and nothing's bonded. So, and I don't know if there's no major power circuit that goes up, although the main power for that development goes up the main road, which the 12-inch is on, while all the side roads have the 8-inch. But it wasn't. There's no additional, a great amount of power going up that road that's would make it unique to any other road or development.
Director Sinella, Martin.
Go ahead, Director Martin.
Susan, I'm trying to understand. I thought that the 8-inch, you said there was 70 to 80%. Wasn't that the number you gave me?
Yes, so the 8-inch actually goes all the way up to above 100% remaining wall thickness in a number of areas, the report found. So those two sites that had the 70 or 80 are the probably the weakest ones that we found within the 8-inch. And the full report that is, like I mentioned, is available. Will show you that the 8-inch had a very good remaining wall thickness.
And what is the estimated lifetime of an 8-inch ductile pipe?
It should be about 70 years. And in fact, in the report, we had the consultant did assign remaining useful life to that pipe based on what it's expected to be and what it is currently based on its condition. And the 12-inch clearly was not living up to its remaining useful life. In fact, its actual life remaining right now in some cases, is 0. The 8-inch has very good remaining useful life in keeping with what is expected.
Thank you.
So if I can jump in, at some point in time, we're going to be coming forward to the board, as we would with any development project, asking the board to accept the improvements. So, and once they're accepted by the district, there may be some kind of a warranty period, but after the warranty period, any repairs after that are up to the district, right? So that's why this is a really important opportunity to make sure that what we're going to be asking to be accepted by the district is in pretty good condition. It may not be brand new, but it's in pretty good condition, and we just don't think the 12-inch, from what we're seeing, meets that criteria. And I really think it is important to do similar condition assessment on the remainder of the 8-inch before we make any final recommendations to the board.
Vice President Sanella, Martin.
Go ahead, Martin.
I have a question. Why are we looking at this project piecemeal? It seems to me that the large facility has been built, we're not looking at yet. Why is that?
Which, I'm not sure which part you're referring to when you say a large part has been built.
Pump station.
Oh, okay. James, why don't you talk about what that pump station really is?
So there's a existing pump station that's been built already that it basically hasn't run for years. So the building is good, and the pumps and the motors and all the other supporting equipment basically work. The staff's conditions that we're going to be right now recommending is they all need to be replaced. Okay. The engineer for the developer is seeing what will work in that system. So in other words, there's steel pipes and there's a steel pressure vessel. It's not a full pump station. It's what we call a hydropneumatic pump station. So it kind of pumps into a vessel that keeps additional pressure to feed the homes. And then there's a larger pump for a fire suppression pump in case there's a fire in the area, because that little pressure vessel doesn't hold enough water or won't let the water out quick enough. So they're seeing what can possibly be, refurbished to new condition. But as far as the pumps, the motors, the electrical equipment, all that's being replaced. We're basically going to be conditioning that as far as staff's recommendation. Obviously, this will all come to the board. So right now, my anticipation is, unless something changes, is staff is going to recommend, basically full replacement of the pump station minus the buildings, and then we'll see about that. A couple other items that from the outside look like they're in great condition, but we want to make sure. And then full replacement of the 12-inch pipeline, and then either full replacement or condition assessment. And then obviously if they do a condition assessment, they have to replace anything that is shown to have less useful life than basically, above 80%, or, almost like new condition. At the end of the day, the developer's aware of this. We had a conference call with the developer. So, there's a cost associated to it, and they're kind of doing their homework on it. However, that's kind of where staff is recommending, and in the near future, we're hoping to come to the board with those conditions.
Yeah, Director Martin, I hope nothing I said misled you. We're not asking for the board to accept anything tonight. We're just trying to get direction from the board as to what additional work should be done so that we can make it clearer with the developer and with staff what would need to be done before it comes back to the board. So we're not really piecemealing it. Tonight, we're only talking about the pipes, but when we come back to the board for acceptance, we'll wrap everything together.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Any members of the public wishing to speak? Glenn?
I don't see anybody with a raised hand, and maybe just as a reminder, if you don't see the raise hand function at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and if you're on the phone, you can press *9, and that would express your desire to speak. Otherwise, I don't see anybody wishing to speak.
Okay, and then also just as a reminder for myself, this entire assessment is 100% funded by the developer, correct?
That's correct.
Yes, absolutely. So the developer provided a deposit. We hired the consultant Pika because so they work for Vallecitos, but there was a deposit account created by the developer to reimburse us, and so they gave us the money first, and then we went ahead and hired the consultant and Pika.
And they're actually covering our staff time too, right? Correct, James?
Yes.
Great. So then, with that, I don't have any issues with staff's recommendation of the replacement of the 12-inch ductile and then continuing the assessment of the 8-inch and to come back at a later date. So if any of the other board members would like to make a motion or additional comment, please feel free.
Director Snell, I have one last question. I don't know if it was mentioned anywhere, but I assume it's being replaced or proposed to be replaced with PVC. Is that correct?
That's correct. Our current standards do not allow for ductile iron, so anything we replace will be to our new standards. So it'd be at 12-inch would be PVC.
Uh, Okay, just one more question.
Yeah.
Somebody mentioned the sewer collection system up there. Has that been looked at yet?
So we are maintaining that sewer because it's connected to our system, so it's part of our normal routine. So it's only a small bit, and engineer Show, maybe you could help me out. I believe it's only, I don't know the linear footage, but it's only at the bottom, right next to Mesa Rock. It's only the last 2 homes or 3 homes
Yes.
on sewer.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's connected to 3 homes, and it's approximately a couple hundred feet of sewer.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And it has been continually maintained because it's connected to our system.
Okay, thank you. With that, I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve staff's recommendation.
Okay. Is there a second? I don't know, Glenn, if you need even a formal vote or you just need our kind of consensus.
Let's go ahead with the formal vote, because I know the developer is watching this closely. I want to make sure he understands that the board was fully supportive of this.
I'll second it. This is
Okay.
Evans.
So we have a motion by Director Elitharp to move forward with staff's recommendation as outlined, and seconded by Director Evans. Director Martin,
Yes.
Director Hernandez,
Yes.
Director Elitharp,
Yes.
Director Evans,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. So that motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, that's the end of our action items tonight. So we'll move on to reports. General Manager Broom.
Yeah, just a couple items. First, I want to start with a COVID update. The board may have heard that Governor Newsom recently introduced new classification criteria, and basically reduced it to 2. One is based on the number of new confirmed cases of COVID per 100,000 population, and the other is the percentage of administered tests which came back positive for COVID. The new criteria results in 4 tiers or risk levels, and these levels determine what businesses may open and what restrictions they may have. As you may have seen, these levels have been assigned colors. So tier 1 is purple, that's the worst, and that considers the COVID threat as being widespread. Tier 2 is assigned the color red, and that considers the COVID threat as substantial. Tier 3 is orange, and that considers the threat moderate. And tier 4 is yellow, and that considers the threat minimal. The governor's rankings or ratings did not include a tier that has no threat level or restrictions in it. It does appear that the COVID-related metrics are trending in a positive direction locally, which is good. San Diego County has been placed in the 2nd tier, the red tier, under what's called a substantial risk level. San Diego County actually meets the standards to qualify for the less restrictive or orange level in one of the criteria, and that's the number of cases per 100,000, but hasn't quite reached the same standard in the other level. And you have to meet both criteria have to be met before you can move to the next lower criteria. The board may have heard that some businesses are being allowed to open with fewer restrictions, and that started just this past Monday. Excuse me. So for example, restaurants were permitted to resume indoor dining on Monday with limitations on the amount of seating and other restrictions in place. For example, you have to wear your mask from when you enter the restaurant until you're seated, and then you can take the mask off. But if you leave your table for any reason, you have to put the mask back on. Vallecitos is closely tracking the new criteria, and it's always difficult when they change the goalposts, so we're trying to figure out where they're at. We need to make sure that we understand how that pertains to our ability to operate. Although the situation has improved countywide, there are still restrictions in place that limit our ability to resume normal operations. Our traditional field operations staff, which is over half of our staff, have been all back at work for quite some time now. We do still have a significant amount of administrative workers who have been telecommuting for some time. The governor's restrictions for our risk level, the red level, does call for continued telecommuting. So we'll be watching the criteria to see when it reaches the orange or moderate risk level, at which time we will develop plans to return our telecommuting workers. We don't know how quickly that will happen, how quickly we'll get into the orange, or how quickly we'll return workers after that, but we're watching that. And just for the public's knowledge, our lobby remains closed, and we will continue to conduct our meetings via Zoom for the foreseeable future. So I'll pause right there and see if any board members have any questions or comments about the COVID situation. Okay, if no comments, the last thing I had was about the Water Academy. So as you know, every year we conduct what we call the Water Academy. And it's a one-day event for our customers interested in learning more about the district and its operations. And it includes presentations by senior level staff, demonstrations by our field operations staff, a visit to our conservation gardens, and a half-day bus trip where the attendees get to tour several district remote facilities. Due to the nature of this event and the ongoing COVID impacts, we do not recommend conducting the Water Academy this year. Typically, we do it in October, and this is about the time of year where we'd be soliciting interest from anybody who wants to go on it. So I just don't think it's the right time. But we are looking at ways to offer a virtual option, and we're looking at possibly rescheduling the event when the COVID-related restrictions are relaxed. So that's all I wanted to say, is to let the board and the public know that the Water Academy is being put on hold, and it may be canceled completely depending how long we stay in these restricted environments. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you, General Manager Prum, and that all makes sense. We'll move on to District Legal Counsel, Gilpin.
I just had one short item to highlight for you. It's Assembly Bill 992, which is floating up in Sacramento. As you know, we've talked in the past about the Brown Act preclusion of having serial meetings, either through your cell phone, text, social media, etc. This bill, if it's passed, would create an exception under the Brown Act that would allow elected people to engage in separate conversations outside of a meeting on a internet-based social media platform. In terms of, you could use it to answer questions, provide information to the public, or solicit information from the public regarding, something of interest to the district or that's on the agenda. The preclusion on this in the past has been if there's more than a majority of you all participating on the same social media platform, it's potentially a serial Brown Act violation. And this exception would clear that up and allow for that to happen, provided the members themselves do not specifically discuss the subject matter or their positions on it. Just allow you to provide and or solicit information on things. So that may be of interest in the future as we move on virtually. That's all I have, Director Snell.
Thank you, Mr. Gilpin. That was interesting. Any questions at this point? Okay, we'll move on to San Diego County Water Authority. Director Evans, do you have anything to report?
Actually, I do, but I've asked if General Manager Prum would speak for me tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that, President Evans. So the Water Authority Board met on Thursday, August 27th for the regularly scheduled board meeting. And the most notable item on their agenda was an item related to the regional conveyance system. And the board will recall that we considered that item at our meeting on August 19th, and during which the board received presentations from County Water Authority staff and their consultant, as well as the consultant team hired by a group of 18 County Water Authority member agencies, including Vallecitos. At that meeting, our board directed me to submit a letter of opposition to that project unless the item was delayed. I did submit that letter on Wednesday, August 26th, and it was included in the public record for that item. Director Evans was in attendance at that meeting, as was I. During the Water Authority's meeting, there was considerable discussion about that project. The Water Authority received over 500 letters from the public about the project, most of them in opposition to the project. the vast majority of those opposition letters were automatically generated from a link on an environmental group's website. And it just made it very easy. You just click a button, enter your name, and a letter was generated and submitted. And the Water Authority is quick to point that out at the meeting, that those were automatically generated and not created independently. And at the meeting, there were clearly directors on both sides of the issue, and many of them making impassioned pleas one way or the other for or against the project. And after considerable discussion, the item took about an hour and a half. The Water Authority voted to defer the item until their November board meeting. So they put like 3 months of time into this process. They did authorize some additional funding to allow County Water Authority staff to continue to work with the member agencies, the consultants, and the environmental groups that are opposing the project to better prepare for the November meeting. What they said is they were looking initially for about $1.3 million, I think it was, to go into Phase B. The board authorized the expenditure of up to $200,000 kind of on this interim basis. And what they said is that was mostly to cover staff costs. So when they track their project costs, just like we do, they include hard dollars that you put out towards consultants and contractors. They also track their staff costs. So they want to make sure that they have enough money to cover the staff costs to keep informing this project as it moves forward. So President Evans, I hope that kind of accurately summarizes what happened at that meeting.
I did a beautiful job. I just wanted to say that it was a very informational and well thought out debate by the different parties, and it was very obvious at the end that most of the ones opposing were in the same position as our board, in that they felt they had no information to really make a decision on. And the Water Authority did step forward and say that a lot of these are very valid questions, as did both of the different consultants. And that's what they'll be doing, is educating far better than they did, and to answer some very specific questions on cost. And I thank you, Glenn.
You're welcome.
Great. Any questions from the other board members? Okay, moving right along to 3.4. Encino Wastewater Authority, is there a capital improvement committee update?
No, that takes place in a week or so.
Okay, how about the Policy and Finance Committee?
Next month.
Awesome. 3.5, standing committees. Okay, we'll move on to 3.6, directors' reports on meetings, conferences, and seminars attended.
Vice President Snell, I attended a couple of things.
Okay.
The CASA board meeting on the 20th of August and the Aqua Energy Committee on the 25th. I have details if anybody has any questions.
Great. And I have a question for you, Craig. You're attending these are, I'm assuming, virtual conferences or meetings?
That's correct.
How are you finding the format?
You know, it depends on the particular software. You know, some use Zoom, some use GoToWebinar. You know, and some of the bigger meetings, you're not on video with others. It's just the speakers. So it's kind of it kind of depends on the platform they use. But in general, they're working pretty well.
Great. Anybody else have any other report outs on 3.6?
Director Sinella, this is Director Evans.
Yes.
As a board member for Region 10 Aqua, I did attend a Region 10 meeting on August 26th for discussion of the upcoming fall conference, which is under debate on whether we're going to do it or include it in part of the Aqua program. And it was very much like our meetings. There were some on phone and some on, you know, visuals, but it was good. It was a good meeting. Thank you.
Great.
Director Sinella?
Yep.
I attended the virtual dinner meeting for CASD, and it was a Zoom meeting. It went nicely, got some great information. I would have preferred to have it in person, but not yet.
Okay. Any others? Director Martin? Nothing? I want to go back to 3.5 real fast. And we did have a finance committee meeting the other day, and we discussed the cost of service study, and then had a great presentation with a lot of information. Hold on one second here. Oh, am I still here?
Yep.
I'm starting to lose you. Great presentation on different options and timelines and deadlines that need to be met, and all that's going to be coming to the full board before too long. I believe September 9th, if I'm correct, off the top of my head. So that standing committee meeting took place, and then that ends the reports. And under other business, I have 4.1 meetings. Glenn, is that just kind of a generic, or is there something to that?
It is. It's just a placeholder. If there's upcoming meetings, that's where we add them in. There's nothing on that item today.
Great. And then that's the end of other business. Any director comments, future agenda items? Awesome. And then we're adjourned. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
you. Appreciate it, Vice President Sanella.
My pleasure. Have a good evening.
Good evening.